Hey guys, just going to be recording this in case today I know that there's supposed to be thunderstorms going on in the afternoon, so mostly for fourth block, but sometimes some of you complain that you don't have good internet access, so I'm just recording this in case you can't hear me or if you can't make out what we're doing in class. So this you don't have to watch unless either one, you don't have time to write down all the notes when we go over it the first time, or two, if your internet connection is not great and I tell you to just go ahead and watch this video first. So today we're working on surface area. Now last week we kind of got started, but there were a few vocabulary words that we need to get down. First is a net. A net is a two-dimensional shape, so a 2D shape used to represent or build a three-dimensional shape, so a 3D shape. So some examples, that's what we're going to be working on today. One example of a net would be this right here. This unfolded shape right here is the net for this rectangular prism. It is a two-dimensional shape, so this is just a flat, almost sideways T shape. And it's used to represent this other three-dimensional shape, this rectangular prism. So first of all, a rectangular prism it is a 3D shape made of 6 rectangles. And that's what a rectangular prism is. So the rectangular prism is an example of that is going to be located right there. That's a rectangular prism, and this is a rectangular prism's net. And I should mention again, if you need to pause the video at any point to write any of this down, do pause it. Anything that I put on this orange sticky note, you need to have written down in your notes. It would also be a good idea to draw as best as you can these two examples in your notes as well. So give you a second to pause the video if you need to right now. Okay, that should have been enough time, at least to pause it. So for starters, how to find surface area. To find surface area, step 1 is find the area of all 6 sides. That's step 1. You have to find the area of all of these sides, but this shape down here, it didn't give us our dimensions. Lucky for us, it did tell us up here what our dimensions are. We can see there are going to be, let's see, 1, 2, and then behind the shape 3, 4 long rectangles, and there are going to be 2, looks like almost squares because it says 15 by 15. So we can assume that this square and this square are going to be the same. So that's going to be 15 centimeters on all sides. We can go ahead and fill that in. And just put 15 centimeters on all sides. You don't really need it on all sides, but it helps to have everything labeled. So we have all the sides. So we now have the base and height for each of the squares, and we have the height for each of the rectangles. And you can kind of close your eyes and imagine if we took this paper and we cut out this shape and folded along those lines, this line right here is going to connect with this line right here, meaning it's going to be the same size. So we can fill these in as well. These are also going to be 15 centimeters. Okay? So we've got all of the sides for the heights basically done. All of the heights for all of the shapes are done. So now we need to find the width of these rectangles. Well, there's only one number left that we haven't used, and if you kind of tilt your paper sideways, you can see these long and wide rectangles all have a base of 33 centimeters. So we can go ahead and label the bases of these as 33 centimeters. And again, you don't really have to do all of the sides, but it does help in case you sometimes have difficulty visualizing or if you have difficulty plugging in information like this. So now we have enough information to find the entire area of the whole shape. So for starters, we'll start with the square. The square is going to be 15 by 15. So 15 times 15. That's going to be for both of these squares. And it looks like all four of my rectangles are actually the same shape and size. So that's going to be 33 times 15 for all of them. So we'll do all of this, and we will see about finding the answers. Now, this is still calculator active. These are very large numbers, and this unit is not about testing your ability to multiply. It's about testing your ability to follow directions when it comes to finding area. So we just do base times height for all of the shapes. So for the ones that are 15 times 15, those will have an area of 225. 225. 225, because those are the same size. Now for our rectangles, these are all 33 by 15. That is 495. So 495, 495, 495, and 495. So that's step one, find the area of all of the parts. Step two is add the areas. And those are honestly the only two steps. Now all you have to do is add all of those numbers together. So we're going to go ahead and add 495 plus 225. That was these two shapes right there. Now we add these three rectangles, 495, 495, 495, and 225. So our final answer for this problem should be 2,430. So that's 2,430 centimeters squared. And for the homework and practice activity we're doing today, the only thing you're going to type in is this right here. You're not going to type in centimeters squared because the answer key will only accept whole numbers as the answer for this one. That's how to find the surface area of rectangular prisms. Next, we have another shape. This shape is known as a triangular prism. So let me get that sticky note because we have stuff we need to write down for this page. So a triangular prism is a 3D shape made of two identical triangles. The triangles will always be exactly the same, and three rectangles. So, important note about triangular prisms, the triangles will always be exactly the same. The rectangles might not. You might have all three rectangles that are the same sometimes. I think this one is one of those types of prisms. However, sometimes you'll have only two rectangles that are the same. Sometimes all three will be different. But if you haven't already, I'm sure you haven't had enough time, but you are going to need to write down a triangular prism. And you are going to want to copy this down so that way you have copies. So pause the video here to write this down if you didn't do that in class. We're going to go ahead and move on. The steps are exactly the same. Step one is find the area of all 5 shapes. There are only 5 this time. 3 rectangles, 2 triangles. And step 2, after you do that, will be to add the areas together. So, step 1, find the area of each individual shape. Our rectangles, or actually no, our triangles are going to be pretty easy because it has our base right here, which is 4 inches, and our height over here, which is 3.5 inches. Again, that might normally be hard, but this is calculator active. So this is a triangle, so it is base times height divided by 2. So we're going to do 4 times 3.5, which is 14, divided by 2, this is a triangle, gives us an area of 7 for our triangles. And I really probably should have started by labeling this, so let me backtrack and label it. So the base of our triangles are going to be 4 inches. Our height, which is an invisible line that we actually have to draw ourselves, is going to be 3.5 inches. There we go. And it looks like the length of each of our rectangles are all going to be 8 inches all the way around. There we go. So those are all the parts we have, and that actually is enough to find the area of our rectangles too. All of our rectangles are 8 inches wide. And it looks like, since they didn't give us the measurements of these diagonals, the sides of the rectangles, we can assume that that 4 inches applies to all 3 of the rectangles. So 4 inches, 4 inches. So 8 times 4, that is 32 inches squared. So 32, 32, and for the areas of our triangles, we got 7 for each of them. Final step is we need to add 32 plus 32 plus 32 plus 7 plus 7. So we can go ahead and do that. So 7 plus 7, that's 14, plus 32 plus 32 plus 32 gives us an area of 110 inches squared. So my final answer is 110 inches squared. And once again, when you type this in as your answer, make sure you only type the 110 part. If you have a space or if you have these letters in there, it's going to mark it wrong. So only put 110 for your answers for this, okay? Let's go ahead and check up on our next shape that we need to talk about, which is a pyramid, specifically something called a square pyramid. So this can be called a square or rectangular pyramid. Let me get our sticky notes because this is another thing we need to take notes on. So a rectangular pyramid, let's see, it is a 3D shape made of one rectangle or square and 4 triangles. All right. And let's see, an example is think about the pyramids in Egypt. These are what those pyramids are shaped as. They are square pyramids, the Great Pyramids of Giza. So if you need to, go ahead and pause the video here so you can get down these notes in case you didn't get them in class, and make sure you have a couple sketches of how this picture should look. So pause the video here and take notes. All right, should have been plenty of time to pause. You can always rewind. But for now, the way to find surface area is the same as it has been. Step 1, find the area of each shape. Step 2, add the areas together. So step 1, we need to find the area of each shape. I'm going to start by labeling everything. So it gave us a height for our triangles. So we're going to have to draw an imaginary dotted line for our height, which was 12 feet. So we'll go ahead and repeat that for each of them. These are 12 feet. 12 feet. And it's not a great dotted line, but 12 feet. And then it told us this is a square pyramid. So we know that this shape down here is the square, so all of these sides are going to be 5 feet. So 5 feet, 5 feet, 5 feet, 5 feet. Okay? So we know how to find the area of a square. That is just going to be base times height, 5 times 5, that's 25. For our triangles, we have a base of 5 and a height of 12. 12 times 5 gives me 60, and because this is a triangle, we have to do 60 divided by 2, which is 30. And each of these triangles are the same, so the area of all of them is 30. And now all we have to do is add the areas of each of the parts together. So we have 4 shapes that all got 30, so 1, 2, 3, 4 30s, plus the square in the middle, which was 25, gives us an area of 145 feet squared. There we go. That's the area of a square pyramid. Now, number 4, we don't have notes to take on this one. I'm only going to give you the raw dimensions because you're going to need to do this one on your own no matter what. But to get you started, let me fold this over so it's not going up on my keyboard and being all lopsided. There we go. So for this one, we have, looks like a couple of kind of short but very long rectangles here on the sides. And it looks like that's going to be, our longest and skinniest is going to be 20 by 3. So these ones are pretty skinny, but they're not the longest. I think these are the longest and the skinniest. So if that's the case, these should be 3 feet tall. So 3 feet, 3 feet, 3 feet, 3 feet. And we can also see, since these will connect if we fold them, these lines are also going to be 3 feet. Okay. And these are the longest ones, so these are going to be 20 feet. So 20 feet, 20 feet, 20 feet, 20 feet. There we go. So that helps us solve this one, and we can see this connects to something. This is going to be a really, really big rectangle. So that's going to be the top and the bottom of this shape. So the top and the bottom looks like are 18 feet by 20 feet. Well, we already labeled the 20 feet, so let's go ahead and label our 18. So 20 by 18. So 18 feet, 18 feet. Which, hey, that helps us solve the mystery of what these other rectangles are. These are 3 by 18. And we can kind of see, like, oh, there's a pattern, 3, 20, 3, 20. There we go. We've got all of our shapes labeled. Let me go ahead and just fill that one in for the sake of consistency. Now we find the area of each one. These long and skinny ones are 20 times 3. That's going to give you 60. And these are exactly the same shape and size, so we can fill that in. This big one is 20 times 18. 20 times 18 is 360 for the big ones. And then we have these, which are 3 times 18. So we can go ahead and do 3 times 18, which gives us 54 for our taller ones. Final step is we have to add all 6 of those areas together. So I will allow you to pause the video and keep working on that if you need to, but I'm going to move on. We've already taken notes on rectangular prisms, so I can just speed through them, I believe. So let's see, for number 5, same as before, let's go ahead and label it. Looks like our smallest rectangles are going to be 6 by 3, so let's fill that in. This is going to be my smallest one, so this is going to be 6 by 3. 6 feet, that's the longer side. 3 feet, that's the shorter side. And, oh hey, these two are going to connect. 3 feet, 3 feet, and these are all going to be identical from the top to the bottom. So I can go ahead and fill that in. And these were 6 feet. And you can kind of see now, all of these prisms are going to look kind of the same when you go ahead and draw them out. Like when you take this and unfold them, they're all kind of going to be the same to some extent. Now we have the long sides. We can just look over here and see, oh, the long sides are all going to be 12. It says it right here. So we can just fill in 12, 12, 12, 12, 12. Too lazy to actually write feet that time. So let's go ahead and find the area of each of these, shall we? These tall, or these shortest ones, smallest ones up here and down here, are going to be 6 times 3. 6 times 3, base times height, is 18 for both of these. Then we have 3 times 12 for these tall and skinny ones. So 3 times 12 is 36. 36. And then these larger rectangles are going to be 6 feet by 12 feet. So 6 times 12, that should be 72. Final step would be to add each of those together, but we need to move on to our final shape, the last new shape that we have. And that last shape is going to be a triangular pyramid. So a triangular pyramid is kind of similar to a rectangular pyramid, only, well, you can kind of see what it is right here. So a triangular pyramid this is a 3D shape made of, well, 4 triangles. I can't even say that the triangles will all be identical because that's fundamentally not true. They won't always be exactly the same. So for triangles, they will sometimes look like this. Another very common way of seeing triangular pyramids, Legend of Zelda fans, you'll actually recognize this one pretty quickly. It's actually when you take this shape right here. All 4 of those triangles, if you cut this shape out and fold along this line, and this line, you will get a triangular pyramid. So all 3 of these, everything on this sticky note and those 2 shapes, you should really take a moment, copy this down now. So pause the video, make sure you get this. Alright, should have been plenty of time to pause. And the way to find surface area is, it's the same as it always has been. Step 1, find the area of each shape. Step 2, add the areas together. That's all there is to it. So let's get started by labeling everything. This is the one, I believe, for homework that will accept a decimal as an answer. So for this one, it looks like it told us the base of this triangle at the bottom, the smallest triangle, is going to be 12 going across, and it has a height of 10.4. So we've got 12 meters, and they drew a dotted line, so we're going to have to draw a dotted line. And it looks like it's pointing to 10.4. So 10.4 meters. Okay? And then it didn't tell us the base of these triangles down here on the bottom, so we're going to assume all of these sides are 12. Okay? Now we need the height for these big triangles. The height of them are all 15.4. It says it right there. So we're going to need to draw some dotted lines. 15.4. Some more dotted lines. 15.4 meters. And our last one, 15.4 meters. All that's left now is to find the area of all of these shapes. We are definitely going to want our calculator, especially dealing with these decimals. So we'll start with our small triangle, which is 12 by 10.4. So 12 times 10.4. And because this is a triangle, we will need to take our answer and divide it by 2. And that gives us 62.4 for this triangle. Now, these other three triangles are all going to be exactly the same, so we only need to solve for one of them, and we'll have our answer. So we've got 12 for our base, and 15.4 for our height. So 12 times 15.4 divided by 2, because this is a triangle, we get 92.4. And we get that for all three of these. Last step is we need to add all of those numbers together. So 92.4, 92.4, 92.4, and 62.4. And our answer should be 339.6. And again, for this one, make sure you are only typing in the number part. It will not accept meters squared if you tried to throw that into the answer. And that is all of our notes and practice activity for surface area. I know that this was a long video. I know that it was a long lesson today. But I hope that this got us on the right track and is pushing us forward. So I'll see you guys later.